Jean Pritchard saw it standing on the stairs. It was something that shouldn't be there, something that shouldn't exist. A tall figure in long black robes. Silent, just watching her, Jean felt her entire body shake. But then she told herself this couldn't really be happening. She must just be overtired and seeing things. Maybe she was sleepwalking and having a dream. Or maybe the lights in her new house were just playing tricks on her eyes, unsettling her. She turned away from the stairs, took a breath, looked back, and the figure was gone. But this was just the beginning. Soon, the Pritchard family would find themselves under attack from what would come to be known as Britain's most violent haunting. In August of 1966, Jean Pritchard, her husband Joe, their 15-year-old son Philip, and their 12-year-old daughter Diane moved into number 30 East Drive in Pontefract, which is a small town in West Yorkshire, which is in the north of England. And the Pritchard family was really excited about this move. The house had plenty of space for the kids, it was a tight-knit community, and they felt like this was a place they could live in for a really long time. And at first, everything was perfect. They met their neighbors, the kids went to school, and they settled in pretty easily. But just a few weeks in at their new home, everything changed. One night, while Jean was walking through the house, she saw a figure in black monk's robes standing on the stairs. And then the next night, it came again. And this time, Jean wasn't the only one who saw it. Her husband, Joe, her son, Philip, and her daughter, Diane, all saw it too. At first, they tried to stay as calm as possible. After all, the monk wasn't doing anything. He was just standing there, silent and watching. And yes, it was very creepy, but they didn't feel like they were in any danger. In fact, they named the monk Fred and thought, hey, maybe we can live peacefully in our new home with Fred the monk. But Fred did not stay peaceful for long. One night, they heard him moving down the stairs, and when Diane, the 12-year-old, woke up, he was standing over her bed. She screamed, the family ran in, and Fred disappeared. But this started happening night after night, and for whatever reason, 12-year-old Diane became the target of this black monk of Pontefract. Every night when she went into her room, she saw him standing in the doorway, standing over her bed. Then one night, she felt the monk grab her and drag her from her bed, through the hall, and up the stairs. Luckily, her mother and father were able to grab her, and Fred disappeared. But this kept happening. And this was not normal by any means, even in terms of hauntings. West Yorkshire, which has been around forever, has a long history of hauntings and ghost sightings and things like that. But for the most part, they're thought to be relatively peaceful, spirits of the dead that can coexist with the living. But that was not the case with the Black Monk of Pontefract. It seemed obsessed with Diane. Fred got more and more violent. It started to levitate objects and hurl them at family members. It caused green bile to spew from the sinks. One night, when they were drinking tea, it threw the pot across the room and shattered it against the wall. Now, at this point, a lot of people say, well, if this was really happening, why didn't the Pritchards just leave? And sure, it's a possibility, but you have to remember that they had just picked up their entire lives and moved into this new house. They had sunk their money into it. They had jobs in the area. This was their future. It wasn't easy for them to just pick up, leave, and start all over again right away in a new place. However, as Fred got more and more violent, and Diane found herself under almost constant attack, sometimes waking up with a pillow being pushed over her head, or finding her entire mattress turned over on her, the family knew they had to do something. So they contacted priests, they contacted the police, they contacted their neighbors, and amazingly, a lot of these people also witnessed the violence of the Black Monk. And so this is one of the rare hauntings or poltergeist events where the family are not the only witnesses. You have investigators who see things move, friends who hear these horrific noises at night, and religious people who even start to say, something might be here. The Pritchards dealt with this haunting for years, and Diane never felt safe in her own home. Finally, the Pritchard family reached a point where, regardless of finances or their living situation or any decisions they had made about their future, they couldn't stay there any longer. And so they eventually left Pontefract. But they left behind stories of one of the most intense, violent hauntings in the history of Britain. And keep in mind, Britain has been around for a very long time. So it's rife with ghost stories, poltergeists, paranormal activity, haunted bogs you should never go into. But most of those stories don't come anywhere close to the intensity and violence of the story of the Black Monk of Pontefract. So even after the family was gone, for decades, paranormal investigators have tried to figure out what was happening. And there are a few different theories put forth by these investigators and members of the community who had lived in Pontefract for a long time. And some of them believe they know who Fred was. Theory number 1, the murderous monk. Okay, so there is a legend in Pontefract that back in the 16th and 17th century, when there was a monastery near where the Pritchard house was, there was an evil monk. This was not a man of God, and according to the legend, the monk was accused and put to death for committing multiple murders and rape. And so a lot of people believe Fred, the Black Monk of Pontefract, was the spirit of this murderous monk who had lived centuries ago. And his violence towards women, according to the legend, justified to them why Diane, the young girl in the house, was his main target. However, there is no proof that this evil monk actually existed. It started as a story, turned into a legend, folklore. No one really knows if it's true. So that brings us to theory number 2. Demons. A lot of people suggest, based on the violence and intensity of the haunting that took place inside the Pritchard home, that this was not a spirit, even of some murderous monk. They don't believe this was a ghost of a human being who had once lived. They believe it was a demonic force that took the form of the Black Monk, and that it was this demon terrorizing the family and trying to find a host in Diane, who, as the youngest, could be seen as the most vulnerable family member. That leads us right to number 3. It was a hoax. Of course, anytime demons or ghosts are brought up, a lot of skeptics will suggest that this was all a hoax, that the Pritchard family embellished these stories to get attention. And in fairness, they did have stories in the newspaper. They did get attention from the community, from the church, even from police. They were, in some ways, minor celebrities in Pontefract for a time. However, people, friends, family witnessed physical harm caused to Diane, fingerprints on her throat, scratches on her arms, hair pulled out, and they saw things flying around the house. That would have been a lot of work for this family to put together that level of a hoax. So that brings us to our 4th and final theory, that this is simply unexplainable, that it's proof of paranormal activity. But we don't know for sure if it was a ghost, a demon, poltergeist, if there really was a monk haunting them. All we know, according to these folks, is that something evil was in that house, a presence that was inhuman that no one can explain. That was Case File 003, the Black Monk of Pontefract. Subscribe to Adjunct Horror before next Friday when the new case file drops, because it is even stranger than this one. It involves a talking mongoose, but oddly, it's not nearly as funny as it sounds. All right, y'all. Bye.